think about the last thing that you wanted oh so badly. Think about how hard you worked to get it and to keep it.
It kind of ranged from, I worked construction for my dad, working as a dockhand at Redfish Lake in Idaho. The one that paid the bills throughout the winter, which was firefighting. So that was probably the best one as a ski bum.
Working hard for what we want is rewarding. It's great. Just make sure that the priorities are in order.
I wake up with a smile every day, and to me, that's more important than a full bank account.
Who are the MTNmeisters?
Committing to the goal and galvanizing you and your team behind that one single focus.
Being at peace with that fear and being okay with it.
You gain a real appreciation for your life and for what you have.
Learn about their extreme lives on rock, snow, and ice with your host, Ben Shank.
Hello to the Meister fans, old and new. If you're of the new variety and you're just listening to this podcast for maybe the first, second, or third time, please understand that you can subscribe to it on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, and a lot of the other podcast platforms. I think there's one called Podcast Addict and Podbean, lots of other ones. Anyway, if you're of the old variety, and old as in wise and experienced, maybe you've listened to all 111 of our episodes, or maybe 10 plus, 50 plus, you can help us out. Leave us a review on iTunes or the podcast app or wherever you listen. Also, if you can't get enough MTNmeister, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can subscribe to our newsletter. It's completely free and completely awesome. Go to our website. The sign-up link is right on the homepage. Thanks, and enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of MTNmeister. I am Ben Shank, the host of this podcast, and today we welcome Kalen Thorien. Kalen, welcome.
Thanks, Ben.
For the listeners who don't know Kalen, she is a professional skier, adventurer, writer, and photographer based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. She has been placed on the covers of Ski Magazine and Powder Magazine, among many other publications. And according to something I found on the internet, Kalen, your favorite foods are fish tacos, pizza, and a huge glass of green juice and a stack salad.
Depends on my mood, pretty much.
What is green juice?
Oh, just, what all the hippies are drinking, a combination of kale and spinach and lemon and cucumbers, and basically just a mass dosing of all healthy green items.
Wow. That sounds good. I don't know if I've ever had green juice.
It's tasty.
I'll have to explore Somerville in Boston. Has a lot of the hipster crowd. I'm from Boston. That's where I record this out of. And I think I should be able to find some green juice there.
Yeah. If not, they carry it at Whole Foods for like $9 a bottle. It's cool.
Oh, okay. Super cheap. So yeah. Anyway, you're a pro skier. When did you start skiing?
I pretty much started skiing more on the serious side when I was about 16. So later in life.
Much later. I started skiing when I was, I think, right when I got out of the backpack. So my parents skied with a backpack. And I was in it. Actually, I think I did that once before my mom told my dad not to. I don't know I guess you didn't have that if you started skiing at 16.
Yeah, pretty much. My parents tried when I was growing up, and we would go once a year or so, and it turned into more of them just dragging me up to the hill. I had tears streaming down my face, yelling at them how much I hated them. And eventually I think they just gave up, and it took up until high school years to discover that this is actually something that I really enjoyed doing. So
you didn't like skiing?
No, I hated it. And so I probably did it maybe half a dozen times throughout my life until the high school years.
Why did you not like it?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It's maybe because I didn't really grow up in much of like a ski-focused town. Not to say there wasn't skiing nearby, but it just never interested me. I was a ballet dancer, and I really liked school and art, and I didn't really like the outdoors. I just kind of wanted to sit home and doodle or listen to music and stuff like that. It was a strange transition that I'm still trying to figure out.
That's really interesting. I wonder if you'll ever find an answer.
I don't know, but I found one now, so I'll take it.
Yeah, that's good. So You started skiing when you were 16. At what point did you decide that you wanted to try to become a professional?
I'd say it more presented itself to me. I just really, really loved to ski, and I would watch ski movies and, was definitely aware of the industry, but I never thought I could be a part of it. So I just, after high school, I moved to Alta and got a job just washing dishes and, flipping burgers up there, and got better and better at skiing. And then it seemed that, one day I came across a buddy of mine, and he was with a photographer, and we went out and shot some photos, and it turned out I was okay at it. And especially at the time, there weren't as many females in the sport. And so kind of word got out that I could, take a decent picture. And with the help of social media, more photographers sort of saw that, oh, here's this, this blonde girl that makes a nice pow turn. Like, I want to go shoot her. And it just sort of fell into my lap almost at first.
What do you mean by at first?
Because it doesn't, it wasn't like it was spoon fed to me. So it started that way. And then that's when I was like, wait, maybe this is something that I can do. Maybe I can pursue this. So I started to actually sit down, write emails, try and get sponsored, would go out more and more with photographers, trying to create a portfolio and a good resume, and actually do this seriously instead of just a ski bum who takes some pictures.
So in a typical interview, we might start talking about all of your successes. But what I've noticed throughout my short life is that humans have this tendency when we're looking back on something to just jump from the beginning to the end. And it'd be really easy for us to just say like, hey guys, here's a super inspirational story. Kalen Thorien barely knew how to ski, started when she was 16, blah, blah, blah. Now look at everything she's accomplished since then. But correct me if I'm wrong, Kalen, I don't think that properly captures your story.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy, but yeah, there are definitely highs and lows on that path.
Yeah, it seems to me, at least so far, that you've spent way more time like just getting by than where you stand with your success today.
Absolutely. I think maybe in the last month or so, I realized I'm not just getting by anymore, but yeah, it's been a scraping by type of journey.
Yeah. Well, so those are the years that we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
All right. It's going to be a really depressing half hour. Just kidding. It's good.
It'll be inspirational, sort of, maybe.
Yeah. Well, we know the ending, so that's
okay,
good.
Yes.
Okay. So you decide you want to pursue this opportunity as a professional skier, or at least you want to try to. You start getting some summer jobs to support your skiing during the winter. What were some summer jobs that you did? You said you did dishes sometimes. What else?
Yeah, they kind of ranged from I worked construction for my dad to working at as a dockhand at Redfish Lake in Idaho to the one that actually paid the bills throughout the winter, which was firefighting. Mm-hmm. So that was probably the best one as a ski bum because I could take my entire winter off.
That's the dream job for a ski bum?
Yeah, firefighting or some sort of seasonal job that allows you to not work in the winter.
Gotcha. So you can make enough money. So it seems to me that firefighting and skiing are exact opposites in the fact that, like, skiing, I think, and this is probably true for a lot of outdoor sports, it's kind of selfish. And I don't mean selfish in, like, a negative way. I just mean, like it's all about what you're doing. Like, you're skiing for yourself. Whereas firefighting is like you're putting yourself out there for the benefit of a greater cause. Absolutely.
And you also have between, 5 to 20 to, who knows how many people that you're working with. So it's much more a team aspect than skiing is, for sure.
Good point. How'd you like that?
I absolutely loved it. It not only... it was great money and all that, but the mental game and the strength that you gain from firefighting has really crossed over into skiing a lot too. So I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, it was hard. That's not to say that every day was awesome. I woke up some mornings just like, God, I have to do this again. But at the same time, you get through the day and by the end of it, you're swapping stories with, your fellow firefighters and you guys are psyched. I mean, the harder the day, usually the better it feels at the end.
Yeah, well, it's true with skiing too, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So what were those, you said you learned some things from firefighting that you applied to skiing. What are you talking about there?
I think the best one would be knowing how to suffer. And that's, everything doesn't always work out the way it's planned. And when I first started firefighting, if the day started to turn really, really hard, or we were just given news that, hey, we're going to have to be doing, on the line for 16 hours a day, just work, learning how to deal with that and going into it with the best attitude was an incredible asset, because now when I go out ski touring and say we have a huge day touring, or something goes wrong, or someone gets hurt, or the weather's awful, or it's a huge hike, you name it, I'm able to know how to deal with it with a great attitude and to be able to get through it and without, having an awful time, basically, which is huge.
Absolutely. And I feel like when you undergo things that are harsh like that, then it puts everything else into perspective. Absolutely.
Just, the mental game, that's something that you can't just learn from a book. You can't just read about it. You have to experience it. And it's type 2 fun is what we like to call it.
Yes, type 2 fun. I'm sure there are people out there while you're doing the quote ski bumming that tell you like, wow, you're living the dream. Like you get to ski all the time. You're so lucky. Did you hear that a lot?
All the time. Oh yeah.
What's your response to people who say things like that?
It's usually like a lot of laughing and kind of head nodding. And, in my head, there's flashbacks of eating ramen and having a negative $15 bank account. But, at the same time, when you do put it in the grand scheme of things, I haven't had a desk job in a long time. So it's definitely a blessing, but it has its moments of harshness too.
So the dark side of ski bumming would be that you're eating ramen noodles and you have a negative $15 in your bank account. What about the psychological, emotional stressors? How about those?
Especially when all my friends were graduating from college, that was an interesting little period of time there. Because you feel like almost a failure. You feel like you're not bringing anything to the society, that your parents are disappointed in you, that you're hearing about, Susie Q, who has this great new job at Microsoft and whatnot, and she's my age and making 6 figures. And that can be a little harsh on the mental aspect, but you just have to step back and realize where your priorities are. And my priorities have never been the house and the white picket fence and the American dream. It's been, out in the mountains, and I wake up with a smile every day. And to me, that's more important than a full bank account.
Mm-hmm. So when we zoom into that time when you really are feeling that emotion, what am I doing? What do people think of me? How do you combat that?
I go skiing.
Oh, good answer.
It's as simple as that. I go out and, try to find a pretty view or find some good snow. And then, it's an instant relief. I mean, it's that any sort of doubt is gone the second my skis start going downhill or uphill. But that's probably the biggest relief. That was
a really good answer, because I think when people do feel those emotions, it's normally when you're not doing the activity, right? Because you love the skiing. That's why you're doing this.
Exactly.
So when you're not doing it, well put, Kalen.
Thanks, Ben.
So how many times did you fail, do you think, at becoming a professional skier before you hit it right?
Oh God, I'm still failing. Yeah. And I think everyone is, because every single pro out there, I believe, has a level that they want to attain. And I don't know if we're ever going to attain it, but we're all going to be very, very close. Because it's not even so much about being a professional skier, getting paid and all that stuff, but reaching a level as a skier yourself, personally, like in abilities. And I think that's something that we're always going to be striving for. But in terms of being able to support myself with skiing and not having to get a job, it literally, basically a few weeks ago is when I figured out I could do that. Wow. Is when it finally happened. So it's been years of scraping, of trying to get someone to pay me. And I wouldn't say I had moments of failure for it, but it took a long time for companies to recognize my worth and to see that, okay, we should pay her and she should be making, X amount of dollars to support her love of this. Mm-hmm. And that took years.
So long.
Years. Yeah, super long. For some people, it happens overnight, which is amazing. And I love seeing that. But for a lot of us, it takes a long, long time of hard work, of scraping by, of working odd jobs just to make it happen. And first, a lot of people, it probably won't.
Mm-hmm. I guess this would be a question for people who don't have it work out for them. But how do you think you would reflect back on those years had it not worked out for you?
I would have been just as happy, because that was never the goal, was to make money at this. The goal was to figure out the best way to ski every day and travel the world. So however I need to do that, I'm going to do it. This is the preferred route, and I'm glad it worked out. But I always had plan B, plan C, whatever to make it happen, such as firefighting. That's what I thought it was going to be from here on out, was firefighting in the summer and then skiing in the winter. But I kept pushing and was able to make it, to make it work.
Here are some failure quotes, because I love quotes. And you're going to have a quote on your Meister profile page, Kalen. You may have said something already in the interview, or at some point you're going to say something awesome, and I'm going to put it on your Meister profile page. So here are some failure quotes. Only those who dare to fail greatly can achieve greatly. That's from Robert F. Kennedy.
Nice.
I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work, from Thomas Edison. Success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm, from Winston Churchill. I think that one probably resonates with you. The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. I like that one. Henry Ford.
Very nice.
Those are cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, moving on from quotes, let's go to gear. We like to get a gear recommendation from every single Meister that comes onto the show. And Kalen, you started from the bottom and now you're here. And because of that, we'd like to get one from you too. This is 100% up to you what you would like to suggest, but I recommend that it comes from skiing or another one of your hobbies. What would you like to recommend to our listeners?
Well, what I would like to recommend is, we're seeing a huge push, in the backcountry skiing world. And I recently found my perfect setup, and it makes me very happy. This is a setup that I use on the resort and off of the resort. I never have to switch boots. I never have to switch bindings. It's the same setup every time. And that would be my Volet V8 ski, which is an all-mountain powder ski, also designed for touring. It's ultralight, playful, super fun. And I have those mounted up with a pair of Dynafit Radical FT bindings, which is one of the more aggressive free ride touring binding. And to click into those, I use the Dynafit Mercury women's boot, which is a great sort of free ride, more aggressive women's touring boot. And like I said, this setup is my everyday, in bumps, riding chairlifts, to skiing deep pow in the backcountry. It's all the time. So it's great to not have to jump around on gear. I'm super stoked.
That's got to be one of the lightest setups out there, right? That's all very lightweight stuff.
It's lightweight for the free ride world, but I think a lot of the hardcore tours would laugh at me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's not the lightest, but it's definitely lighter than any alpine touring setup or anything like that. I mean, so it's pretty light.
Cool, sure. Cool. All right, you can find Kalen's setup on her Meister profile page on our website, MTNmeister.com. Kalen, you mentioned moguls there, and I am so happy you did, because I've been waiting to pick one of the Meister's brains on this topic. I skied moguls when I was younger, and I wasn't bad. I was like a pretty good mogul skier. And I think it's due to my family growing me up that way. I mean, the only thing that we really ever skied were bumps. Like, that was it. Maybe a couple of groomers to start off the day, but the rest of the day were all bumps. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm talking about resort skiing. So to me, bumps have always been just like the go-to, because it's automatically the most challenging thing on the hill, I think. Do you agree with me there, first of all, that moguls are the most challenging thing that you can find in a resort? I mean, maybe some chutes, but for the most part, it's moguls.
I'd say, well, moguls to me are pretty much anything that isn't POW or a groomer.
Yeah.
Or
Okay. Let's stay with that. No. I like that. I like that definition. That's fine with me.
But yeah, I think it definitely is one of the hardest things because it's the thing that I pretty much try to avoid at all costs. It is because it really requires just solid technique, and that's something that I'm always constantly learning because, like we talked about earlier in the show, I didn't grow up with any sort of training. So to me, it's been the best and hardest thing to ski because it forces me to really have to focus on my technique and my positioning and everything like that. And I agree with you. The best skiers that I know have been bump skiers, and they usually all come from the East Coast.
Yes, so. That's the next thing that I was going to say. Okay. I'm skiing, and also, you know who comes from the East Coast? Racers. I mean, racers obviously come from the West Coast too, and wherever. But these racers on the East Coast won't ski moguls. They refuse to ski moguls. Is that how it is in the West too? I think so. I mean, you can't even find a true mogul course at Alta or really a lot of the places around here. I think you have to go over to Park City to find a legit mogul run. Because our moguls just get filled in with deep POW, Ben. Yeah, kind of. I mean, I've skied out west, and there are some great mogul runs.
That's true. I'm just rubbing it in. I'm trying to make.
Well, yes, no, the POW definitely makes me jealous, Kalen. But what I'm trying to figure out is how can you call yourself that great of a skier, especially to these East Coast racers, if you can't ski moguls?
It sounds like such a mogul racer thing to say.
Yeah, I was a mogul racer. So, and I this is probably the first time that I've ever inserted an opinion on this show. I try to stay very unbiased. But this, I'm really curious. I feel like you need to do everything on the mountain, and if you can't do moguls, then I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you can shred a mogul line, especially on non-mogul skis, then in my opinion, you are the king of the mountain, and I bow down to you.
Now, let's say we take somebody who can rip a mogul line smooth. Is there anything that you think that they can't do that maybe a racer could, besides go fast?
I'd like to see a mogul skier throw down a picturesque Lee Cohen POW turn.
Okay.
That's you guys are in your little box form with your hands all super tight and close.
Right.
Which is a big no-no when it comes, especially if you're trying to shoot skiing. But no, honestly, Ben, I have to give you the award on this one. I think mogul skiers can ski anything. It may take them a few tries, but they'll learn it a hell of a lot faster than I'll ever learn skiing mogul. So,
okay. Well, next time I'm out west, maybe we could rip some mogul runs together.
Do it. I'll do it in my Dina fits.
Yes, perfect. All right, and thank you for bearing with me on that because I've just been so curious, and I think I might ask some more skiers in future episodes about moguls.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. You were a soul rider, Kalen.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Kogelman was on this show a couple of times. One to talk about soul riders, the other time to talk about a very serious head injury that he had. His first episode was number 4. His second episode was number 93, if the listeners would like to check those out. Now, I remember the Kogelmeister, which is what I call him. He said that a soul rider is a person that would do it without the camera on them, yes. And most soul rider athletes aren't really big names, and they don't get paid a lot. And I remember us asking him, can a person stay a soul rider? What if they get famous? And you happen to be a really good example of that. So are you allowed to stay a soul rider now that you're making a living skiing?
I think it's something that will always be internal because that's the ultimate thing that's driving myself and I think all of us, even the most pro of pro skiers. There's a reason they're pros, and it's because they love to ski. A great example in that actually was, the late great JP Auclair. I went on a trip with him last winter, and he was and is the biggest name in skiing, and so watching him work was unbelievable because we had cameras galore, we had everything on us, and he was nonstop. It would be the end of the day and we're all exhausted. And he's looking up at this couloir, which would take God knows how long to hike. And he just wants to go ski it. He doesn't even, the camera guy's like, I think I'm done. Like, maybe we should head back. And he's like, well, I still want to go ski it. And his drive was from the passion. It wasn't ever from the cameras. And so, yeah, I feel like you'd never lose that, because if you start skiing for just the camera, you're just not going to be as successful. The passion has to be internal, and that's something that'll never be lost. And once the cameras go away, when we're all older, when our careers are all done, it'll still be there, and we're still going to be getting up and skiing every day and chasing that dream. That's never going to go. Very cool.
So you mentioned once this is all done, what's next for Kalen Thorien? You're not done yet.
No. And I've learned to not think about it too hard. Sounds almost kind of, reckless or naive or irresponsible, but trying to completely chart my path has shown to be a pretty futile move. And I just know and I trust myself that I'm going to do whatever makes me happy. And I'm going to keep pursuing whatever puts a smile on my face every morning. What that is, I'm not sure, but I know that I'm going to follow it. It could be basket weaving for all I know, but the pursuit of happiness is basically the goal.
Yeah. It sounds like if you had to choose between like high expectations, low expectations, or no expectations for your future, you have kind of the no expectations route where you say like whatever happens, happens. And I wrote something about this for our newsletter about how when humans get their expectations beat, they're happy, but when we miss expectations, then that's when we really, really get down on ourselves. Mm-hmm. So when you have no expectations, then the possibilities are endless.
Exactly. It's like walking off trail. You can go in any direction at that point. And I've found that seems to be a really, really good route as Absolutely. Of now. Maybe it's a very young thing to say, and maybe I'll look back and laugh at myself. But as of now, I'm going to hang on to that.
Yeah, no, be yourself, right? All right, final question for Kalen Thorien. We like to see who is going to be the next Meister on this show. Who would you like to see as the next Mountain Meister?
I think everyone would really enjoy hearing about Jim Harris, a.k.a. Perpetual Weekend, who is an amazing adventure photographer and writer based out of Utah. Unfortunately, he's currently in the hospital right now with a severe spinal injury, but he is recovering. But he is pretty much one of the biggest inspirations in my life. I've done a lot of adventures with him. He's taught me more in a year than I've learned in a lifetime. And he's just an absolutely beautiful human. And I think his voice needs to be heard. I think a lot of people need to hear what he has to say.
That's our responsibility to deliver it. Kalen Thorien, thank you for joining us on Mountain Meister today. It was wonderful having you.
Well, thank you, Ben. It was wonderful to be on here.
For the listeners, if you'd like to learn more about Kalen, you can Google her, or you can go to kalenthorien.com, or you can go to our website, MTNmeister.com, where we'll have highlights of today's episode. Thanks, Kalen.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Have a good day. Fun.
Good. Glad
you have a great radio voice.
Oh, do I really?
Uh-huh.
I got told by actually a couple of people that I sounded like Ira Glass. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, oh, totally.
Okay. Do you get that?
Yeah.
All right. Kalen with some really nice words after the show. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Mountain Meister. Hope you enjoyed this one as much as you've enjoyed the other ones. If you did, let me know, ben@mtnmeister.com. You can send me an email there, or you can tell me that you hate the show at ben@mtnmeister.com. That helps me out too, because then I know how to improve. Per usual, enjoy doing the rest of whatever you do when you listen to Mountain Meister. I'm the host, Ben Shank. Thank you for listening.